All right, so this news is a little bit sad to talk about, and it hits home being a Canadian as well. But it says here, the article, more than half of Canadians worried about putting food on the table. A poll basically shows. A new poll suggests that more than half of Canadians surveyed are worried about having enough money to put food on the table, while 86% of people are worried the country will face an economic recession in 2023. Food inflation is reported at higher than 10%, and most recent Canada Food Price Report released December 5th says the cost of groceries will increase another 5 to 7% on average next year. Wow. Another 5 to 7%. You got to be kidding me. Food already. If you're taking a look at the grocery stores, right? Probably most likely in your area, but definitely here in Canada, you're seeing food prices continue to move up. And you're telling me another 5 to 7% increase next year? On top of that, we have Christmas coming up. We have, spending. A lot of people are probably going to be spending during that time as well. We've gone through massive rate hikes, massive tightening, and we're already feeling the pinch. And you're telling me another 5 to 7% next year, and inflation basically having a tough time to come down. That will definitely slow demand massively, which, because you're going to have to choose either to eat or to go out to that place, or to go out and enjoy some entertainment, go out and spend money to entrepreneurs, small businesses. You will start counting every penny. So 5 to 7% is quite scary. And these are highest increases in food prices in the last 12 years that report has been produced. This year's report predicts a family of four, including a man, woman, boy, and a girl, will pay up to $14,767.36 for food, an increase up to $966 from the total annual cost in 2021, said in the report. Now, some regions will see higher food prices than other regions, depending on where you're living. And, being in Canada, knowing also the rent prices, the housing prices at crazy levels, rates moving up. I mean, you've got two of the most important things, shelter and food, where you have to live and to eat to survive, is expected to be at either elevated high levels or expected to increase for 2023. And you can imagine where this is heading towards. If more people are feeling the pinch, you're going to get the demand crunch. Then yes, you're going to see people stop spending. And consumers that are spending plays a big vital role for GDP, for growth for the country, the backbone for a lot of businesses. If you slow that down, definitely you're going to see the side effects of all this tightening that we've done in 2022 play out in 2023. And definitely that's where another indicator of unemployment rate that comes to mind as soon as I start reading through this article, that hey, higher job losses, companies going out, laying off employees, small businesses, possibly small, medium-sized businesses, possibly also shutting their doors. This may not, bring down, it may bring prices in certain areas and certain goods lower. And that's what the central bank is that's why they're increasing rates to basically effectively bring demand lower so that the prices can come lower. But there's one caveat with that. Sure, that may work temporarily, but if you're shutting down businesses, I don't think in certain areas, like for example food, and especially with the geopolitical tensions that we're having around the world between the West and the East, if things start to become more tighter, especially supply chain, and there's more conflict between countries, then definitely shipping around food, A lot of countries are dependent on food and dependent on other countries like the US and so on getting their food to their country, and there might be maybe a resource war, right? Where certain countries are not going to give certain resources, and then other countries are going to hold back on maybe food items, maybe charge a higher price, which everyone effectively is going to feel the pain of higher prices. So this is very scary because this is not just an issue with the money printing that's been going on. This is bigger than the money printing. This is the supply chain. This is this new era of the decoupling from the globalization that we've had for 1 to 2 decades, right? Globalization was the reason why you could get cheap goods, right? Was the reason why China was exporting disinflation to the West. Now that we are basically shifting where we get our goods, changing things, being kind of in this cold war between these other countries, and finding new ways and avenues to get these goods, it's going to create hiccups and it's going to cause problems because, again, you need certain items, and if you're not getting it from certain businesses because they're shut down, or there might be some restrictions on exports, or there's war going on between countries, then definitely that's going to create elevated higher prices, especially in food, especially in other resources that we may not think that goes into food. And I actually did a full video on this, talking about energy prices, talking about other commodities that go into producing fertilizer, which helps with the food market, right? Which plays into higher prices for food. So if the fertilizer prices are going up because the commodity and the resources and the chemicals that go into this, those prices are going up, then yeah, next year a 5 to 7% increase in food prices in Canada may not be much of a surprise because of how all of these things are playing out. And I feel really, really, disheartened when I read this, especially because with the current government in Canada, right, knowing that it's unaffordable for a lot of Canadians to rent, to purchase homes. Think about a millennial, right? Just think about it for a second, right? It doesn't take a genius to figure this out. If you're coming out of school, college, university, already racked up with a lot of debt, right? You got an aging population, the baby boomers, okay, understand, they're retiring. You hit an event like COVID, we're having a job shortages issue. Trudeau's worried about the job shortages, so they're bringing in more immigrants. Fine, fill up the jobs in that sense, but open the country more to many other places, incentivize companies to open up in other areas rather than stuffing everybody either in Toronto or Vancouver. Spread out the houses. Try to help make housing more affordable, because if it's not, then guess what? It's going to be worse off. It's simple supply and demand, right? If the supply is still a problem with housing and you're bringing in an inflow of immigrants into the country, demand's going to pick up. They're going to want houses, right? And then, say you get the recession, rate cuts happen again. Don't think that, prices are going to level here. When the rate cuts come, probably prices are going to shoot up again. It's definitely a problem. And a millennial, right, coming out, or a Gen Z coming out of school, you think they have $1 million sitting in their pocket to buy a home? The only way to purchase that home is either they're making very good income, they either saved a lot of money and for a couple of years, or 3, they're getting their parents to help them out, which is the more likelihood scenario. And some people may not have that, which is again very sad, which means that many people will never own a home. And owning a home, owning a place, is now becoming a very scarce commodity, a very scarce thing, right? To own your own home. And that's pretty sad, right? That's pretty sad. So it's pretty disheartening to read this. I'll leave the the link in the description for you to read this article. But it just goes to show that the amount of pain, the amount of tightening, and how it's being managed by the government is quite sad, and the effects we're going to see in 2023 doesn't look good, especially if you're saying things like next year we're going to get higher food prices. People are going to be in much more of a tough situation. So I'm worried about 2023. Let's see what happens. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below. Tell me about your areas. What are you seeing there? Very curious to hear that as well. Hit the like button, subscribe button, and the bell icon to be notified on the next video. And I'll see you guys around. Cheers.